Move your hand away from the door, Mom. You are not going inside looking like this. Those words from my son sounded louder than the music playing inside the city's most expensive banquet hall. I stood before the glass entrance, holding a simple handbag, and stared at the man I had once considered the greatest achievement of my life. Daniel Walker. My only son. The boy for whom I used to work 16 hours a day, denying myself rest, new clothes, and even decent food. The man who was now looking at me with cold irritation, as if I were an annoying obstacle ruining his perfect evening. "What did you say?" I asked quietly. He sighed in frustration and lowered his voice, anxiously glancing around.
"Mom.
Please, don't make me explain the obvious. Just look at yourself." I looked down, at my simple jersey dress from a regular department store, at my flat shoes, at the hair I had styled myself. I looked like an ordinary 67-year-old woman who had decided not to waste a fortune on stylists. And that was the exact reason for his burning shame. "There are people inside tonight who are vital to my future," Daniel said, peering through the glass doors. Inside, top managers and investors walked beneath crystal chandeliers. "This is the charity gala for Apex Hospitality Group. My contract and partnership are on the line. I don't need anyone asking unnecessary questions." "Someone like me?" I finished his sentence for him. Daniel avoided my eyes, nervously adjusting his expensive watch, a gift from me for his 30th birthday, though he had no idea of its real cost. "Mom, don't make this difficult. You shouldn't go inside. It's just not your level. You'll feel uncomfortable among these people." Those words stung, but inside me, instead of tears, a strange cold calm was born. I smiled. My son thought he knew everything about me, but he only knew the version of me I allowed him to see. "All right, Daniel," I replied quietly and took a step back. He let out a sigh of relief, believing he had won, but he understood nothing yet. "Only there is one problem," I added, looking up at the golden logo of the conglomerate above the entrance. "Tonight's event won't start until I walk into that hall." A condescending smirk appeared on Daniel's face. "Mom, are you serious? Do you even know where you are?" "No, son. You are the one who has no idea where he is." At that moment, the heavy doors swung open. The event manager, Mr. Harris, walked quickly toward us. Seeing me, his posture instantly changed. His back straightened and his face showed the deepest level of respect. "Mrs. Walker," he said, completely ignoring the frozen Daniel. "We have been waiting for you. The car with your attorney, Mr. Miller, has already arrived. Please come inside. Everything is ready for your speech." Daniel froze. The confusion on his face slowly turned into pure, primal fear. "Mom?" His voice trembled. "What does this mean? How do they know you?" I adjusted the strap of my simple bag and looked my son straight in the eyes. "Let's go inside, Daniel. It will actually do you some good to be at this event." To understand how we ended up at these doors, we have to go back 15 years. When Daniel was young, we truly struggled to make ends meet. His father had left us with nothing. I took any job I could find, froze in our unheated apartment, and saved every cent to put my son through a good school and then college. All I had was a tiny, semi-basement diner on the outskirts of town, which I had opened using my very last savings and a massive loan. Everything changed when Daniel turned 22. He got his degree and moved to Europe to build his career, determined to achieve everything on his own. It was during those years that my modest diner grew into a popular chain and eventually into a major management company. But I remembered how quickly easy wealth breaks people. I had seen how arrogant the children of my successful acquaintances became, and so I made a decision. I created the conglomerate Apex Hospitality Group. All business was conducted through a trusted investment trust, and my official representative to the press and partners was my attorney, James Miller. To the world, I remained a quiet, low-profile co-owner whose name never appeared in the tabloids. I helped Daniel quietly. When he was lucky enough to get a favorable business loan, when his resume accidentally ended up on the desk of the right boss, when he was gifted an expensive watch for his hard work, my trust was behind all of it. But Daniel himself was convinced that this was solely his own brilliant success. 5 years ago, he returned to the U.S., married Victoria, a girl from a wealthy family who highly valued social status, and gradually began to distance himself. My habit of living simply, wearing comfortable clothes, and not boasting about money started to irritate him. To him, an elderly mother in a simple jersey dress ruined his polished, perfect image of a successful man. And tonight, that illusion was about to shatter. We walked into the shining hall. Victoria, who noticed us from a far corner, rushed over with a strained smile that masked her panic. "Daniel, why did you bring her here?" she hissed in her husband's ear, barely containing her anger. "The press is here. The board of directors is here." "Victoria, shut up," Daniel said quietly. He was pale and could barely stand. James Miller, my attorney, stepped up to the stage. He tapped the microphone to call the room to order. "Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Today is a very special occasion. We are celebrating the 15th anniversary of Apex Hospitality Group. And tonight, for the very first time in the company's history, the person who built this business from scratch while staying in the shadows to protect her work from unnecessary noise will speak to you." The screen behind him lit up with the conglomerate's logo, and beneath it, my name appeared in large letters, Elizabeth Walker, founder and majority shareholder. The room erupted into applause. I walked calmly toward the stage. I saw Victoria's mouth drop open, a wild, panicked terror reflecting in her eyes. She frantically looked back and forth from the screen to my simple bag and cheap shoes. Daniel stood motionless, as if struck by lightning. At that moment, his entire world, built on vanity and judging books by their covers, was collapsing inside his head. I took the microphone. My voice was steady and confident. "Good evening. Many of you know Apex, but few know how it started. It began with a cold kitchen, unpaid bills, and the belief that honest work is more important than a beautiful facade. I didn't build this business for fame. I built it to prove that you can rise from the very bottom and still remain a human being." I looked into the crowd where my son was standing. But sometimes, as we rise to the top, we forget to look where we are stepping. We begin to think that our worth is measured by the price of our suit or the brand of our car. We start to feel ashamed of the very people who helped us take our first step. That is the biggest mistake a business person can make. Because a business can be rebuilt after any crisis. But lost humanity is very difficult to recover. I finished my speech to a storm of applause, stepped down from the stage, and headed for the exit. I had no desire to stay for the banquet. Daniel caught up with me outside as I was waiting for a cab. Victoria was nowhere to be seen. She didn't have the courage to approach. My son stood before me, his lips trembling. For the first time in years, he didn't look like a smug executive. He looked like that same frightened 7-year-old boy from the cold apartment in Ohio. "Mom," he whispered. "My God, Mom. I am so sorry. I'm such a fool. I got so lost in all this fake status." I looked at him without anger, only with a slight sadness. "You aren't a fool, Daniel. You just let a beautiful wrapper replace the substance for you. You were ashamed of me because you thought I was weak and poor. But remember, a person's true status is not defined by how much money they have. It is defined by how they treat people from whom they have nothing to gain." I got into the taxi. I needed to give him time to think. A year has passed since then. Daniel did not receive my company as a gift. In fact, I temporarily blocked his promotion within the Apex structures, forcing him to prove his professional worth on general terms. He had to go through real challenges, and it did him good. Victoria, realizing the scale of the disaster, hastily tried to mend her relationship with me, but I kept my distance. Respect cannot be bought or returned in a single day. But the most important thing has changed. Now every Saturday, Daniel comes to visit me at my modest country home. Without expensive suits, without pretense, he helps me in the garden, we drink tea on the porch, and we talk for hours. He is finally learning to be a true walker. A person who values not the wrapper but what is inside. And for me, that is the greatest victory of all.